Alright, so welcome to the 3ds Max tutorial. We're going to do a bit of navigating around the interface and we're going to go into some room creation. So we're going to start creating a room and making a green screen to go in that room. So let's go. So once you have 3ds Max open, I want you to follow along with the video tutorial so you can implement it yourself. So from here, when you get the pop-up window, just close that down. We're just going to start with a plain So I'm just going to draw a box. 1 second. Just so I can show you a few tools. So we have the 3 main tools to move around and resize and reshape. And these are at the top. If you hover your mouse over them, it will give you a text box so it can tell you what it does. So as you can see, this one is select and move, which if you select that, it will give you the X, Y, Z axes and you can literally drag your object whichever way you want. Now, if you hover over it into the little box, you can grab that and move it around freely. Just be very careful when you're doing that because you could end up completely off screen, especially if you have multiple objects in one place. So then if we go to the next one, which is select and rotate, it will give you a ball. Still got the X, Y, Z axes on, as you can see. And if you hover over, you can tilt it on the different axes and twist it round. And then we have the select and uniform scale here. And you still X, Y axes and Z axes again. So if you hover over the Y, for example, you can extend it by the Y or even shorten it. If you hover in the middle, you can resize the whole object itself. They're the 3 main ones that we use to move objects around and resize. You can also use these for vertices as well, so remember the corners. And the main one we're going to use is the snap toggle tool today. And basically the snap toggle tool, see the grid on the background, it will snap straight to a section of the grid. So when we go into create our room, we're going to draw some straight lines. So we want it to snap so we can keep it completely straight to the grid. So then we have the different viewports. I'm just going to delete this box. So we have the perspective viewport. If I draw another box, actually, you can see the different viewports itself clearly. So this one is where you can see the entire object. And you have your little navigation tool at the top, the little square. So you can tilt around. It does say top, left, right, bottom. So you can click on each face and it'll put it directly on the one you're looking at. Or you can just grab it and move it around. So then we have your front viewport here. So you'll see object from the front. Then you'll see it on the top. And then you can see it from the left. This is quite handy when you're resizing and rescaling. So you can see exactly where it's placing it in that viewport. So to maximize, you can press Alt and W and it'll maximize the viewport that you were in. So if you press Alt and W again, it'll put you back in that one. So if I go and click on the front, you'll see it puts a yellow square around it. So if I press Alt and W, it'll maximize that viewport. And then we have the panel over to the right. So we have a create and then we have modify, which we're going to work with these two. So let's delete this box. So we're going to start creating the room. So you want to be in the create panel and down to the geometry panel here. So normally where it says standard primitives, where we have the box, sphere, cylinder, we're going to come away from that and we're going to go into AEC extended. So from there, we're going to select wall. Now make sure you have that snap toggle on that I was telling you about, and you want to be in the top viewport. Then if you use the middle button on your mouse to scroll in and out, you can see it maximizes and minimizes. So we want to go minimize it a bit so we can get more of the screen in there, because obviously we're not going to stick to that little square for our room. So this dark grey line in the centre is going to be the middle. So as you can see, if I put that in the middle, you can see it on every screen. So bearing that in mind, we are going to create the wall. So if you left click and drag the wall down, and just create any shape you like. And then when you come around, make sure you're still going straight line and join it onto the last piece. And then it's going to ask you if you want to weld the point. So we're just going to say yes. And it's going to leave you with this piece here. And you're just going to right click on the mouse to deselect the tool. So when you come over to this viewport, you zoom out, you can see it's created your walls for you. Fantastic. So now we're going to create the floor. So in the Create panel again, we are going to go to the next tab over, so not Geometry, but Shapes. And we're going to select Line. And what we're going to do, we're going to trace round our shape that we created for our wall in the top viewport. So we're going to left click and left click each corner that you've made. And then join it. And there you have your first spline. So we're just going to click yes to close it. And then we're going to go into the Modifier tab, which then you can modify that shape that you've just done. So from the modifier list, we are going to drop down box and we're going to find extrude in that list. And what that'll do, that'll put a plane in there for you so you can see the floor. But if you use the parameters down here, we can change the thickness of that. So we can extrude it to 3. And as you can see in the front viewport and the left viewport, the thickness of that floor. We're not going to make it too thick. I think 2 will do. Alternatively, you can highlight it and you can write in there the exact. So say if I wanted 2.5, and press enter, it'll go to 2.5. We're just going to leave it at 2 for now. And there you have our walls and floor. So we have the basic start to our room. So now we're going to put a door in there. So we need to go back over to the Create tab and Geometry. And we're going to click down this drop down box and we're going to select doors. We're going to put a pivot door in there for now. You can, once you've done the pivot door, experiment with the sliding if you wish. So we need to choose a straight panel in your top viewport. So you might want to zoom in a bit because you need to see the bits of the walls. We're just going to take that snap toggle off before we start. So what you need to do is need to left click, or you need to hold down rather. So don't left click, but hold down over on the left or right side of the wall, whichever one you start with. The left side or the right side, it doesn't matter. It just means you'll be going the opposite way when you extend it. So if you click and hold down and drag that wall or drag that door down, and then once you've dragged down and you let go, it gives you the option to select the width. So we're going to make sure it goes to the other side of the wall, and then we're going to click. Then we are going to bring that door up. So as you can see in the bottom left viewport, you'll put the height of the door. You don't want to go above the wall, but probably just underneath. And there you have your door. So if we go to the perspective view, you can see our door just created there. I've done a large door because I'm going to do a double door, as you can see. You can have one door, one large door, and if you see in the parameters down below, you can change and make it open. So if you put your mouse button over the arrows and roll the mouse up and down, it will see the door open. So you can change the flip swing and make it open inwards. You can change the hinge, make it open from the other side. But like I want to do, I'll stick with the double doors. Like that. Just a nice touch, but when you put the textures on it, it'll be even better. But we're not going to do that in this tutorial, maybe next week. So now we have our doors. The thing with the doors, if you go to the Modify tab, and then make sure you select a Move tool is on there, you can move your door to any position that you want it. So we can drag it to the other side and place our door over on the left. Or we can use the Rotate tool. And you have to be careful here, make sure it's in the front view. I want to use the yellow bar and just rotate it round. And perhaps move it across and then down. And as you can see, I've put it on that side panel. So it's best to create it over on the left or right side and then position it to where you want it. Check that still opens. Yep, perfect. And there you have your first door created. So now we're going to go and create the windows. Now these are a little bit more tricky. So back to the geometry panel and drop down box and windows. So it's pretty much the same again. So you want to left click and hold down the mouse on the left side or the right side of the wall. And then, oops, forgot to select the sliding. So we're going to go for a sliding option before we start any of that. So then we're going to select the sliding. As you can see, there are different window styles here, which you can choose later on. But just for now, we're going to select the sliding one. So again, top viewport on the left side or right side. And you're going to click down and hold down and drag that window. I'm going to put one in here, make sure that's straight, and then you're going to go left or right, whichever width you started in. Now for the windows, we're not going to go high up as we did the doors. We're just going to go maybe just halfway, and we're going to select there. Now, I'm going to turn around. We're going to have a look at our window. And as you can see in the parameters, we have that open again. So if you hover over, you can see that window open and close. Now, if your window is the opposite way around and it's opening from bottom up, just deselect this hung here. And it just changes the way in which it's hung. So you can either open upwards or to the left or right, whichever way you have your window, which I'm going to leave it like that. So you can change your height and width of the window here if you decide, oh, maybe it's not big enough or even wide enough. And we're going to go over to the Select and Move tool and move that window up using the Z-axis. We're going to rotate it round. As you can see, we have a window. So you can add as many windows and doors in as you wish, but for now, I'm just going to leave it at the one. But add these when you finish the tutorial, that'd be great. So we have windows, doors, floors and walls. All we're missing is a bit of skirting boards. So we are going to go the last time back into the geometry panel, and we're going to actually go in the shapes, and we're going to use that line tool that we used before. So in the top viewport, make sure you can see your entire room, and we're going to once more trace around that shape. So before you do that, make sure you have the snap toggle on and you'll go in a straight line. So go around each corner. Then when you get to the other end, we're going to close that spline, and we're going to go into the modify panel and a drop down box, and we're going to just type SW in there and it'll take you straight to sweep. So when we have that sweep modifier in, as you can see, what it lets us do is transform that line into a different shape. So we can put angles, bars, channels, pipes, T's, tubes. The one I've used is pipe, which is excellent for cabling. But we're going to stick with angle for the moment. And then we're going to you can either use the scroll down bar just on the right, or you can click and push that parameters up there so you can see the sweep parameters. So from here, you need to zoom in. I'm going to take this snap toggle off for a moment. I need to zoom in just to see a bit of the angle in the room. As you can see, it's put my skirting board in there quite nicely. Now, the problem you may have it, you may not be able to see it. All you need to do is mess around with these pivot alignments down at the bottom, and that'll just put it in a place. So for mine, it's the bottom right corner. But I'm just going to change the thickness of the skirting board so it goes right up into the wall. Like so. As you can see, it goes right across our lovely door frame that we put in earlier. So we need to rectify that. So what we're going to do, we're going to click on the floor. And when you have it selected, you can see here, line extrude. And we're just going to right click and we're going to hide selection. Now what that'll do, it won't delete it, but it's just hidden from your view so it doesn't get in the way. And as you can see, we're going to go into our door, zoom in a little bit, and then you'll be able to see exactly the door frame and where the door comes out. So what we need to do is we need to delete this section here. So I'm going to select that skirting boards. We're going to right click on this and we're going to collapse all. Now what that'll do is it'll make you modify and your line one object. So we're going to click yes. And it'll make it an editable mesh. So then we can change the different vertices and edges in there. So I'm just going to select the entire thing by selecting the element and selecting the skirting board. So from there you want to right click and make it an editable poly. And then we're going to go to the modeling tab. Now your layout may be a bit different, but in there you will see edit, and we're going to cut. I want to say, yeah, we're going to cut, or in fact, we're going to quick slice. It should be easier. I'm going to hit quick slice. And we are going to zoom in as much as you can. I'm going to select. As soon as you press down and hold it and drag, you'll see it puts some dotted lines in. Well, that's going to cut through there. And then we're going to click again. Then the bottom, on the other side, and straight up. We're going to select there. Well, that should have done. I'm going to right click to make sure you come off that tool. And we're going to select polygons. Not coming off that tool. Come on. So make sure you hit quick slice again to deselect it. For mine, for some reason, it just wouldn't come off. So now when we hover over polygon, we can just click and drag and select that polygon in the center and press delete on your keyboard. And that will remove the skirting that was in the way of the door. And there you have it. In fact, what we need to do is right click anywhere and unhide all, and that will put your floor back to view. As you can see, you've just created one room. So now we're going to move on to the green screen. But before we do that, we need to just make some amendments here. So on the left side, you can see your objects, and we've just called line, line, and wall. Now what we need to do is get in good habit of renaming these. So these are your naming conventions, because if we left it at that and we came back in a week or so, we might not know which part was the line, and you might end up with a big long list. So what we need to do is, if you click on wall, here, and then you can right click and rename. I'm just going to change that to wall. I know it already said Waller 1. But then if we select line 2, what was line 2? That's skirting boards. Yep. So we can right click and rename skirtings. Then we have line 3, which is the floor. So right click, rename, floor. And from there, what we need to do is save. Now, what I perhaps should have said previously was to save at every individual point. So when you're working through worksheets in the future, make sure you save. So I'm going to choose Save As, and make sure you save it in your area as well, or in a folder. I'm going to put that as room creation. There you go. One room with windows, doors, and skirting boards. So what we need to do now is create a green screen. So we have an easy option. You can select in the create panel in the mod of geometry, we can select standard primitives and create a box. Now, if you maximize perspective window and start drawing a box, doesn't matter if you mess around, create the box too big, you can change it in the parameters, in the length, width and height. So we're going to keep it relatively flat, and we are going to go over to the select and rotate tool. We're going to rotate that to a 90-degree angle. So this tool here, next to the snap toggle, is the angle snap toggle, which is very helpful for when you're rotating an object and you want it exactly straight. As you can see, it'll snap to every 5 degrees. Like so. Then we're going to go back to select and move. We're going to place that over by the wall. Now you can make this a little bit more fancy than I have made it. I add in maybe some pipes, tubing. Maybe you have a larger green screen. It doesn't really matter. And we're just going to change in the modify tab Just going to change that to a luminous green for now. And there we have a room. Excuse me, there we have a room with a green screen. So if you've got this far, now you can make any different adjustments as you want. And there should be more tasks on the board for you to complete. All right, thank you. Bye.